Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're pleased tonight to host Dr. Manuel Schubert to tell us more about behavioral economics and its impact on public policy. In fact, Dr. Schubert has an impressive track of record. He sent me 6-page resume, but I won't read all of that. I will try to summarize, and I'm afraid I'm not going to do you justice, but I hope you understand. Dr. Schubert is the managing director of BEHAVIA. BEHAVIA is Germany's first consultancy for behavioral economy and public policy, with a mission to empower people to make better decisions. Dr. Schubert is also an assistant professor at University of Passau in Germany, and the University of Passau is among the top 20% universities. In fact, it's ranked the 27th university according to Time worldwide among young universities. Yeah, we have to be careful.
Yeah,
about that.
otherwise we are cheating.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's ranked the 27th among young universities according to Times worldwide 2019. We look forward to hear more about behavioral economics, and so Dr. Schubert, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope the mic is working. So, salam alaikum, masal khair wa ahlan wa sahlan from my side. I'm sorry, that's actually all my Arabic so far, so I have to switch to English. First of all, I would like to thank the Asbár Center, in particular Dr. Fahad Al-Hafi, Hussam Buhairi, I hope I pronounced it correctly, Ms. Fatma Al-Sharif, and the other colleagues at the Asbár Center for organizing this little talk tonight, and so warmly welcoming me to this talk and this presentation. And of course, also a big thank you to you, Dr. Amal Al-Avda. I'll try my very best, but you would see there is a language barrier. For introducing me so kindly, for chairing and moderating the session. I think this will also be part of your role tonight. And of course, last but not least, to you, dear guests, excellencies, well-respected scholars, practitioners, colleagues and friends also. We have some friends over here tonight. So I'll try to talk a bit about behavioral economics and the insights that we can infer that are relevant for public policy. I think there's something. Is it too loud? Yeah, a bit lower, because I hear the echo. Sorry, I think might be better now. And this we'll do during the next 19 minutes. First, maybe apologies for my German accent, which you probably have noticed now. So I'm not a native English speaker. If there's anything that is unclear, maybe because I speak too fast or too slow, or because of my accent, just feel free to jump in, raise your hand. I'm always happy to get to answer questions or to follow up on something in more detail. Or if you have any other comments on the topics itself, just jump in. Just during the presentation, that's all right for me. Okay. So far, already questions? Then let's kick off. Behavioral economics. I have now a little issue because I cannot really see the slides. Behavioral economics is a relatively new discipline within economics, but I hope I can show you tonight that it's not as boring as economics typically is, but rather a fascinating field. I like it a lot, and I hope I can give you a little taste of behavioral economics tonight, that it has something more to offer than just purely data crunching economics usually does, or theoretical economics. So behavioral economics would rest upon, or would contradict classical theory. Classical theory is always telling us we are perfect, rational decision makers like chess computers. We would be able to calculate everything we can. We follow a narrow self-interest, which means we always go for the money, and behavioral economics is telling us, no, we are human beings. We behave differently. We deviate from classical assumptions and predictions. But we do this in a systematic manner. Our deviations are predictable. And this is the charming part of behavioral economics. It allows us, ideally, to make predictions about behavior in the real world which then is important for public policy. I hope so, at least. So, and what we are going to do is we'll jointly now assume the roles of behavioral economists and go on an interactive journey. This is what you're going to see is a compilation of different cases. So there is no overarching theory. Just to give you a flavor, not everything that will be presented is super, super robust, but I hope you will get the feeling. And we do this interactively, which means I hope you all have mobile phones with you. Yeah, that's great, because this is a little program that we use to run experiments, behavioral economic experiments. And if you would do me the favor and go either to that link, www.behavia.org, or take the QR code from here, then you would be directed to that website, and you would find a screen that looks like this. This is a tool we call Class X. It's used to run experiments in seminars, lectures, big halls like this one. And it allows us not only to ask questions to the participants, but actually also to let them interact in experiments. So there will be choices and questions, and I would like you at different points during the presentation to join me and to answer these questions so that we can see how we as humans behave. And you would see a list. You have to scroll down a bit. I think there are 44 countries now using where Class X is used. Saudi Arabia comes in alphabetical order quite at the bottom of the list. And there you would find BEHAVIA. So tonight is also the first time that Class X is used in Saudi Arabia, which is also really nice, I think. So please, BEHAVIA, then workshop. Then for you it's participant, and the password is Saudia. I hope this will work. Take your time. For every experiment we do here in our seminar room, there is anyhow no right or wrong. It's just whatever you feel for you is the most important. That's the waiting screen. So you will, once you have logged in, there will be a waiting screen. Please wait till something starts. That's normal. That's okay. So, and normally, may I add, we do this. We incentivize experiments. This means we play for real money. But to be honest, because I wasn't so sure what's cultural appropriate, I left it for tonight, maybe for another time.
No, we're down for it. We've got some money to do it.
I thought so, that these comments would come. So I promise next time we'll do it. Okay, so if you more or less got logged in, that's great. Hi, welcome. Maybe you can have a look at one of your neighbors' mobile phones to log in to that website so that you can also engage in some of the experiments we're going to play. This would be great. Thank you. Okay. It's just a detailed screenshot. Then, these are the list of topics we are going to talk about. At least I hope so. Time will be tight, I'm sure of that. I don't want to prime you, so no need to take a closer look. Let's start with the first experiment. These are typical instructions for a standard experiment. And so they go like this. You and another person here in that room will now be randomly matched by Class X, by this tool you just logged in to. There will be two roles. There will be pairs, and for each pair there will be two roles, person A and person B. Yeah, also Johnny, that's great.
Yeah,
perfect. Person A will be endowed with 100 Saudi Riyal. Person B will not be endowed with anything. So 0.
So I'm A.
Sorry?
I'm A.
You know
Just
already? I haven't even started the experiment already.
No, she wants the one.
Yeah, okay. So wait, maybe it depends what you have to decide on. Person A gets 100 to start with. Person B is endowed with 0 Riyal. Then person A decides how to split, if and how to split these 100 Saudi Riyal between him, herself, and the other person, person B. This randomly matched other person. Once the decision is made, I'll show you the screen in a second how it looks like before we start to play the game. Person B, the match or the pair will be informed, and that's it. The experiment is over. There's nothing more. Just one decision made by person A. Person B will simultaneously be asked about his or her expectations. What does she or he thinks the other person will do, how the other person will split the amount. This is how the screen will look like. Very simple. You see your role, person A, or in the other case, person B. You will be asked to split the 100 solde real in whatever split you like, either 100 for you, 0 for the other one, 50-50 is here, and at the bottom you would find 0 for person A, so for me, if I'm person A, and 100 for the other person. So it's up to you what you want to decide and how you want to split this pie. Any questions so far on the procedures? Yeah. Of course. To the password, okay. Here to the QR code as well? So while you are taking the picture, I can actually, if there are no other questions, then let's play our first experiment. I hope it will work now. There should be an update on your mobile phone. You should see a list. You should, at the top of the list, you should see whether it's your person A or person B. As person A, you are asked to make your decision and split, if you want to split, the money. And that's it. Then you press on a button and that's it. For person B, there will be expectations to respond to. So you can also click something, just to make sure that you are not too bored. Yeah. How does it look like? Okay, I see 5, 6 people, 12 in total. Some more logging in, okay. Who's still on the way to make a decision? Who still needs more time? Someone needs more time? Sorry, that was someone?
Just give me a second.
Yeah, okay. So now I'm excited. It's really interesting to see. Again, there is no right or wrong. You just pick or choose a split that you think makes sense to you. Everybody done? Yeah? Okay. We'll close it and we take a look at the results. I'll just move the screen to show you how you would see it's anonymous. Hope you can see it here. This is how you have decided just now. Of course, payoffs were hypothetical, so you wouldn't get any money. But you would see amount kept by person A, it ranges somewhere between, you kept, some said 90 for me, 10 for the other, down to 50-50. Well, economic theory would tell us you are a bit deviating from predictions. Why do you leave so much money for the other person? You should care for yourself. But somehow we deviate. And to tell you the truth, you're not alone. Just need to make sure that I get it back. Here we go. You're in good company, actually. Yeah, this works. Come back. This is data from, I think, 4,000 subjects in total, participants in this kind of game, only this game. You would see the distribution. Some give 0 to the other person, but most of the people give something. And many people give also 50% of the split. So it's a bit strange. While economic theory would tell us we are all rational utility maximizers, we are not. We see that we deviate. And we see that we care for others by giving a bit more. And we don't do this only inside of these little laboratory environments. We do this also in the real world. Honest finders. I guess all of you know these kind of things. I mean, I hope it never happened to you, but people lose a wallet and somehow it's returned. Although, of course, for the finder, it would be, economically speaking, from a rationality perspective, it would make complete sense to take the money, take it in your own pocket, and then, of course, the wallet you could still hand over to the next nearby police station or something, but take the money. No, people actually, even in big stakes, $1,500, $40,000, $80,000, people return that money. People spend a lot of money. I mean, even if it doesn't fall from heaven, they go and spend for charitable organizations. And the trend is increasing over the last 30, 40 years. Of course, charitable organizations know how people tick and think, and they, of course, do good campaigns and marketing in order to make them spend more. But we see on average, if we take anecdotal evidence, laboratory evidence, we see we are not that selfish. And that's a very nice thing to hear, actually. We care about others, we have other regarding preferences, we like to see others being treated fairly. Is it all the time like this? 3 little extensions. One extension is, now you have been sitting here making the decision, you didn't know who is your person B as person A. This person B was completely anonymous to you. Would it change as person A if you would stand up, talk about yourself, give your name, your background? Do you think person A would give more or less? I see already a more than the background. More, of course. Yeah, people give more. Substantially more. When we start here with 25% or something on average, this jumps to 50%, 52% actually. Oh, this is a layout mistake, I think, due to the resizing of the screen. Sorry for that. I think we have to live with it. So this jumps to 52%. Empathy is activated once we see a face, once we hear a voice, once we learn about a name, once we learn about hobbies. We see similarities, we get connected and feel responsible, and we can make use of that in public policy as well. Another example. Person A, you made a decision. Person B was sitting here with you inside that hall. You clicked on that screen saying, for example, 70-30. 70 for me, 30 for the other person B. Now imagine person B was not sitting here with us, but somewhere, another building, doing something else. And the 30 would potentially be added just on top of something they earned in another task. And you would get a little message after you clicked on the 70-30 button, telling you, oh, are you sure you want to do 70-30? You could also have this wonderful exit option, giving you 90 for B nothing, but B would never learn that this experiment was played. Now think hard. It has a charming drive, doesn't it? It's nice. Somehow we feel, oh, 90, 0, and the other person remains ignorant. Not, yeah, please, question? Okay. There's something. And this something can be measured. If we play it like this, knowing now we get this exit option with 90-10, and the other person will never learn, we see it drops on average. People give less. They take the exit option. They don't want the other side to learn that they are a bit selfish. A last little extension. When was it the last time, dear person A's, and B's can also, I think, assume the role of person A as well, when you behaved greedy, unfairly, mean to someone else, you think maybe you hurt someone, you were lazy. Imagine you are asked to think about a recent situation where you acted in this manner before you make your decision to send something to person B. Most likely, I mean, I would feel bad after writing about myself, something that I did was greedy or unfair to someone else. I would feel bad And as a consequence, in the next step, when I make my decision to give something to someone else, my decision, I would give more. I want to compensate my feeling of guilt with doing something good. And this is quite a strong effect. Again, pushing it beyond the 50%. We give even more than we give to ourselves if we are negatively loaded morally. And this is the point. Once we are loaded with these kind of frames, and we need to write about ourselves, we have what we call a moral deficit. The idea is that we have a moral balance, we do something good, we get credits, we get a license to do something less good. And if we do something very bad, we are in deficit, and we need to do something good in order to rebalance, to compensate. So this is more or less the theory behind it, and people try to maneuver through their daily life being more or less okay. Sometimes going into this, sometimes into the other direction. And here we see, okay, you do something bad, you give more. All right. You get rid of, you wash yourself free from the sins or something, yeah? I think that's at least the German translation into English. Question?
No, just like that in something here.
Yeah.
Even in the consumer behavior, we have something we call it license effect.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, if I do something good, then that's giving me kind of a license.
Yeah.
I have a license to do something bad.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. All marketing people know this very well, and that's at the very end. Of course, we want to do something good, but that's at the very end why they bundle also products. It's not only that you buy a product. You buy sometimes a product that is morally loaded in a positive manner because it's fair trade, it's biologically, I don't know, better, it doesn't employ child labor. These are topics that are relevant for marketing, and they know how to play the game. And they know how to convince us to buy this bundle, something that is morally good, pay probably premium, but essentially it's the same good. So, little public policy exercise. And I think you know the answer already. So, I'm sure. This is a trash can in Berlin, Germany, a couple of years ago. So people at the government of the state of Berlin got a bit worried because waste was mounting up in the streets. Nobody really was using the trash can. So they compiled a small group of, actually at that time, psychologists, and they thought about how can we actually nudge people into throwing their litter into that trash can, yeah, voluntarily. It's not by force. How can we use these insights to transfer it into public policy? And we have now seen 3 effects. We know the more we know about someone, the closer this someone is, the more we care, the more we give. We know that if we want to appear good, and if we are not observed, we are a bit more selfish. Remember this exit option thing? So add more spotlight. Make people, or give people the feeling that they're observed when they pass by at the litter can or trash can. And load it morally, your point. Make it a bundle. Make it you throw something into the trash can and you have the feeling you do something good. Activate these things. And this is what they came up with. They gave it a face. This was number 1. This is a human appearance. And sometimes it's related also to local communities. So you would see, I do something good for the neighborhood. It's orange, a very strong salient color. If you pass by, you have a very similar effect as, I don't know if, but it's a bit special. Have you ever noticed when you pass by at a homeless beggar that you have the feeling the closer you get, the stronger are the expectations directed towards you? So you feel this, and sometimes you make a circle around that homeless beggar in order to stay away from this magnetic effect. And sometimes you're okay with passing by, but you feel it stronger and stronger the closer you get. This is exactly the effect that these trash cans exert on people passing by. People passing by. You get close if you know you have something or cigarette or something. You know, I better throw it. It feels wrong if you throw it on the street. And this effect works. It's really nice. And on top they have little thank you statements. So, positively loaded, which is really nice. And at the beginning they could even say thank you. You would throw something in and they would say, probably in German, thank you. Which is, they tested it, it wasn't so successful because at night people got afraid, so they stopped it. But nonetheless, I mean, this intervention was quite successful, though I have to admit there's no data available due to confounds. But we come to other examples where I can show you that for other public policy interventions, we have good data available. And this one, at least, I'm sure it's a good intervention. And of course, just 3 little papers that can already inform us how to design trash cans in a proper way to nudge people into wasting, putting their waste into this trash can. Just a small example. So what else do we have? We have another topic. I don't want to go into the label of that topic. Yeah, this is still fine in terms of layout. Another little exercise for Class X. So get your mobile phones ready, please. What we are now going to do is a quick math test. I hope you will love it. You would see a matrix of numbers. I think it's a 3 cross 3 matrix, so 9 numbers in total. And you will be asked to find 2 numbers, exactly 2 numbers that add up to 10. There are only 2 numbers, so you would need to find these 2 numbers. And you would have 30 seconds to solve the test and find the 2 numbers once I reveal this orange rectangle. Class X you don't need at the moment. Just look at it for the 30 seconds and then we'll move on with Class X. Okay, are you ready so far? So here we go with the 12 numbers. Yeah, it's coming in a second. Class X is not working yet. We'll launch it in a second. So 2 numbers adding up to exactly 10. Yeah, no. Everybody individually, if possible. And I think, what is it, 10 seconds left? Roundabout. 2 numbers adding up to 10. Okay. Time is over.
Are they the only 2 numbers?
Yeah, the only 2 numbers. Here's the solution. These 2 numbers, you found them, I guess, yeah, add up to 10. And under normal experimental conditions, if you found them, you would get 10 soldi real. So now please go to Class X, to your mobile phones. I will ask you just quickly, it's just a 1 decision per person. Did you find the correct numbers or not? And I hope it's, 12 people are registered and it's coming in. Did you find the 2 numbers or not? Another one is missing. Yeah, it was quite tough in terms of timing. A last one, I think. I mean, there's no big deal if you don't want... No. Oh, another one logged in. This is nice. I can actually track how many people logged in and how many people have decided it. I would never see... would never see the decisions. Yeah, it's completely anonymous. But of course, as a tool to run these experiments while you're actually talking, it's really nice. Okay, let's have a look at the results. Oh, that's cool. Just need to find this one. So we have a very, very honest group. I have to congratulate you. I expected something else. So you have proven me wrong. Hey, what happened? Yeah, it's only 10 reals.
You wouldn't try for 10 reals.
Cheat.
But yeah, okay. Maybe I run out of the internet, but I think you have seen. We got 90% plus saying, I just need to get my screen back here. You think it's a scrolling issue? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. Almost 92% said, no, I didn't find the 2 numbers. Of course, timing was tight. It's 12 numbers. It's not that easy. I did it at home. I didn't find it in 30 seconds. I needed more time, so I want to make sure that it's also tough for you, to be honest. 8.3 said, yeah, I found them. And now, let me ask you the actual question. I have to ask the 8.3. Who lied to me? Who cheated on me? No need to raise a hand, no need to answer through classics. But I think we all got the point. Yeah, you see the solution, you will be asked to do something, self-report about your own performance, and you would feel, well, if it's 100 real, if I got the message correctly, or 1,000 real, I would most likely cheat a bit. And we all do that, I think. I mean, at least I did during university and at school. Okay, let me go back.
But what I know is it was a trap.
Yeah, then of course you too smart. Yeah, it's just a little exercise to get the feeling that that cheating sometimes is something that we do. So okay, going back. Yeah, I think this is activated again. Rationality would tell us, of course, if you self-report on your own performance, you would always say, yeah, I solved it, of course. Yeah. So this was just the starting point. This was the actual experiment conducted at Harvard University, math test, including, I think, 20 different questions. And it's the same exercise. You need to find the two that add up to 10. They invited students and other participants to run this test, and the more questions you solve within the time of 5 minutes, I think, the more money you get. And here it was with real payoffs, not with these hypothetical 10 real that we had. They had a control condition where it's essentially like at the normal university exams. You fill out a sheet of paper, try to find the true numbers. The experiment is over, you hand it over, you get graded, and that's it. And then you get money. They also had something that was closer to ours. You do this on the sheet of paper. You come to the, I don't know, teacher, or it's called experimenter in that case. You shredder, or first you copy the results secretly, i.e. self-report on your own performance. Yeah, you have your exam. And you only write down how many puzzles you have solved correctly. And the range is between 0 and 20. Maybe you have solved 7, maybe 18, maybe 5. I would never know. The only thing I would get as experimenter is this little slip of paper telling me how many puzzles you have solved. That's all. And the original will be shredded. That's it. Yeah? So you would see. You sit there and think about 2 more. I had 10. I think I deserve 12. Something like this. And this is what we observe. People cheat. 32% plus. They increase the number of solved puzzles when they're asked to self-report on the performance. But the good thing is, while rationality assumptions would tell us we go to up to 20, we don't do that. We just cheat a little bit. We don't overstretch the boundaries. A little cheating seems to be okay for our moral balance. Again, this moral balance. But our moral ego will not be affected by that. But once we increase, probably we have a feeling of guilt. So what can we do in order to let people behave more honestly? Which is probably relevant for a lot of governmental initiatives. We want people to behave honestly. So here's an example that was also conducted there. They used moral reminders. Before they were going to solve these math questions, people were asked to write down the 10 commandments. So you should not steal, you should not kill anyone, and the others. They've done this, and then they went on with a math puzzle and also self-reported on their performance. And what we see is something really nice. People are honest again. So this little intervention of a moral reminder activates what is usually asleep, and people see a norm, or feel a norm at least, of behaving honestly, which is just a really little intervention to ask people to do that, but nonetheless with huge impact. It goes down to the original level. People obviously don't cheat anymore. Public policy. Cheating. So where do people cheat? In taxes and insurances. Here I have the example, insurance market in the US. In 2016, there were estimates that insurance companies lose like $80 billion per year due to falsified claims, artificially inflated claims. So if we now think about these moral reminders, what could we do actually to help insurance companies to get a better position towards their clients or policyholders? Well, the idea is, moral reminders in the back of our mind, let's first have a look at how these damage reports look like. Maybe there's something we can use. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I was looking for something where maybe health insurance or somewhere it's more closer to the state-owned companies, but this is the best example I could find. But it's a valid point. Do we really want to support insurance companies? Well, morally, I think I'm on your side. Yeah, but you got a point. But maybe we come later on whether they to fairness perceptions toward organizations. Maybe we still have some time. So here, this is the most boring sheet you can imagine. It's a car damage report, and it contains a lot of different details. Maybe you have done this in the past, but you need to report on where the damage occurred, who, I don't know, witnesses, everything. This is boring, but the interesting, juicy part comes somehow here at the bottom. There's a sentence in most of these reports saying something like, I certify that the above damage amount is a true and correct estimate to the best of my knowledge. This is what's called, I think in the literature, proof of honest intent, which is nothing else than a moral reminder. The problem is, however, it comes after we have populated these cells and tables. So after we have cheated. I mean, you not, obviously, as we know, but after we Germans cheated. Let's put it like this. So what if we just take this sentence, move it on the top? That's a very easy intervention. Costs nothing. And let's see if it does have an effect. This was how, this is, I need to explain a bit more detail. Here we have a policy, an insurance policy for automobiles, for cars. And they have tested the effect of moving it from the bottom to the top among 13,488 insurance policy holders. And the crucial part is that they have usage-based insurances. So you report yourself the mileage that your car has, if I understand this logic correctly, and you pay more the more you report, which is somehow correlated to, I don't know, insurance claims, but this is somehow it's a self-reported mileage, and the self-reported mileage drives your costs as a policyholder, or vice versa, your gains or savings as insurance company. So this is what they do if it's at the bottom. They would say, on average, my car has 24,000 miles on its odometer at the bottom. Now we move the thing to the top and observe what happens. Oh, suddenly my car has 26,000 miles on its odometer, which is great, because as a consequence, our not-so-friendly insurance company saved $650,000 that year, just by moving this little thing to the top. So using normal procedures, activating people's moral egos with little reminders before they actually state false claims or cheat can have some effect. And that's the key message here. Okay, social norms. Social norms. No, it's not about us. You are an honest group of, honest audience, group of participants in this, in these experiments. But what about the US citizens? We talked about tax already, and insurances, and probably we also have an issue when it comes to taxes, at least when we look at the aggregate numbers. So there are estimates telling us $170 billion are lost every year, from which should go to the US budget, governmental budget, but people inflate their expenses in their annual income tax statements. Well, I mean, 2 weeks ago I went out with Aunt Maria, and I have a business, so maybe it was a business dinner, this kind of stuff. Small things, you put it on your income tax or on your corporate tax sheet, And these things shouldn't happen from a governmental perspective. We as governments don't want people to behave like that. We want them to comply with our rules and the regulation. But they deviate. So maybe we can skip classics here because of the timing. I think we are good, but nonetheless, maybe you can do this by rough estimate, or you just shout it in. What do you think? How many people in the US cheat on their taxes, so inflate their expenses artificially? Are we talking about 5 to 10% who do that, or much more?
Much more.
Okay, so you have a very specific perception of the US people. Higher, like something like 20 plus, yeah, 20% plus do that, or 50% plus, but a substantial amount of the US citizens. I think we are all more or less on the same page, yeah? Okay.
Uncle Sam.
Yeah?
Uncle Sam.
It's Uncle Sam, you can cheat Uncle Sam. Yeah, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But this figure of 170 billion,
Mm-hmm.
that's individuals and companies. Is that
Yeah, it's individuals and
So it's
companies.
about 1.7% of GDP.
Not bad, yeah, it's a lot of money, yeah. Yeah, we should worry about
It's
that.
not
Yeah.
small.
It's not a small amount, no, for sure not. I mean, I haven't run the regressions and estimates how to come up with it, but it seems to be a good estimate.
Isn't 20% too much? They say 20% of the people try to cheat on taxes. Won't they get caught? That's a higher figure.
I
1 out
cannot
of
tell you the
5.
truth how many people cheat, yeah?
I mean, 1 out of 5 sounds reasonable, isn't it?
Somehow, I mean, I know how many times I cheated on my taxes and inflated something, which is not an issue here, of course, but you enter gray zones and then you would feel the heat on the other side. But what's still in the gray zone, good that we are not recording anything here. But the thing is, if you think, now put yourselves into the shoes of a US citizen, if you think 20% or more of your fellow US citizens are cheating on the taxes, why should you be the only honest person? There is something really bad. If you think the more people are, a lot of people are cheating on taxes, it tells you it's okay to cheat as well. If all do it, I can do it as well. It gives you, there is a social norm of cheating activated that gives you somehow the feeling I can do it as well. And this is something really, really bad. If a social norm goes into this direction, that cheating on the public spending or public money is okay, that's something we definitely don't want.
That's what lawyers and CPAs do. They bend the law. They don't call it cheating. They call it
Yeah. What should I say? I think we have lawyers here, so... No, of course, there are boundaries which you can stretch, then it's still legal, but once it's illegal, then it's illegal, then it's cheating and it's not allowed anymore. Yeah, of course, detection probability. This is the difference maybe. In a rational world, we would know, okay, people cheat, that's their nature. So we would come with detection probability, fines, and a couple of other incentives to make them comply with our rules. But people are somehow honest, so why not to bring them closer to behave voluntarily honestly? This is what we would try to think. Okay, the experiment we skipped, that's easier actually. So here's something that is related to these social norms. Minnesota experiment, 47,000 taxpayers were involved. They didn't want to find out how many people cheated. They wanted to find out, does it matter, this reference to the peer group, thinking about how many people actually cheat. And they didn't want to leave it to the people to make it up to themselves, 20% plus, 50% plus. They wanted to tell them, hey, listen guys, it's not so many people. They tested 2 messages. One was for social purpose, explaining that taxes are for something socially good. Yeah, over 30% of state taxes go to support education. Another 18% is spent on healthcare and support for the elderly and the needy. So taxes are spent for the socially good purposes. The other, I don't know, 23,000 households received message 2. According to a survey, many people believe other people routinely cheat on their taxes. So like we do, we think US people, US citizens are cheating routinely on their taxes. This is not true. However, audits show that people pay voluntarily 93% of their income, the income tax they owe. So first we believed people are cheating. Now we learn, well, some people cheat, but the vast majority, They are honest. Maybe I should also behave honestly. Maybe I shouldn't cheat.
This is artificial numbers, yes?
I knew that someone would ask this. So I have to tell you, I don't know, yeah? But I can also tell you, if I would be here advisor to Minnesota Tax Authority, I would never cheat. I would never cheat or lie to citizens. This will only backfire. I mean, there's no moral higher ground behind that. It's only if you cheat once and they find it out, everything you say, they don't trust you anymore. So it doesn't pay off. Better go with what you really found. But of course, in a small environment, if you want to test it, but I would better test it with a different society, not your own, to not lose the credibility. So I think it's the truth. But how they tested it, I don't know. At least I think it's the finding of their survey. So okay, they have changed the social norm. Before that, people were believing, we all cheat. They all cheat, so I can also cheat. I can join them. It's okay. Now it's, the others, my peers, they don't cheat, so somehow maybe I shouldn't cheat. And it worked out. Compared to the social purpose treatment, which is already nice. It's already nice. It's telling you how public or how taxes are spent. We have a decrease in refunds, which means the tax statements are more accurate, more truthful. And by 29 percentage points, which is a lot. So again, people report more truthfully once they learn. The others report truthfully. And this is the effect here. Peer group reference. We learn something about a social norm, whether it's acceptable or not acceptable to cheat, and we want to comply with that norm. That's how we are programmed. We want to comply with our parents. We want to comply with our society. We wear clothes. This is a societal norm. We comply with we want to meet the expectations of others. That's deeply ingrained. And it's also relevant when it comes to paying taxes. I tried to come up with an example that is relevant here. We know that people want to comply with social norms. We know that Saudi Arabia has maybe not an issue, but at least if I would be public policy designer, practitioner, I would be not so happy with the energy consumption levels here. I think this is the last 40 years. It's peaking compared, the trend is going quite highly upwards compared to the rest of the world. So energy consumption is something that could cause a problem in the future in Saudi Arabia. So how can we nudge people to consume less energy now that we know they care for their reference group and want to comply with social norms? Maybe we want to inform them that those who particularly consume a lot of energy, maybe we want to inform them that they consume a lot of energy. Maybe it's good to tell them, hey guys, you can consume as much as you want, but you're high above average. Maybe this triggers something. They want, again, to comply with a norm, most of the times. And this is essentially, give them the feedback to those who are heavy energy consumers and observe what happens. I don't have data from Saudi Arabia, I'm sorry. But I have data from Canada, 290 households from Canada. Just a little side note, they were informed with door hangers. So they received, after a couple of weeks of observing their electricity meters, they got door hanger telling them, guys, you're above average. You consumed, I don't know, so and so many kilowatts per hour, while the average amount was so and so many kilowatts. Sad smiley and some handwritten suggestions what could be done. So this was the intervention. So before the intervention, the average kilowatt hours per day was around 21 in these heavy energy consuming households, and they receive a door hanger, a simple door hanger. And what happens? 8.3% decrease in energy consumption, just because households, people living in that household want to comply with that norm. We don't want to be the one consuming so much energy. But if the neighbors somehow manage and they also have 3 children, why? No, we should, I don't know, switch off the light, use less air conditioning. I don't know what they did over there, but somehow people started to comply with that norm, saying use less energy. And nice. Again, a simple, cheap intervention which created behavioral responses on a large scale.
I have a question, Dr.
Yeah, go ahead.
Schubert. Now, if people are affected by social norms, it means that people have the mentality of following the herd. And I believe this can be a double-ended sword. It can be good, positive sometimes, but it can be negative. For example, in purchasing blood diamond or wearing fur for endangered species.
Species, yeah, I also have some issues with this word. Yeah, herd behavior is something we would love to use, or social norms, activating it to guide people into the right direction. And the right direction is, of course, what we governments want. Now, looking backwards, I'm pretty sure my ancestors did a great job in activating the herd. Before the Second World War, the Nazis did a great job in activating their population. But of course, today I would say this is not really nice. And so, in this regards, it depends essentially what are the governmental objectives. Sometimes you would have objectives where later on you would say, no, not so good. Sometimes it would backfire because you lose control. Also something that in all these interventions, I have to admit I've selected those who look nice and shiny, but there have been a lot of piloting, a lot of pre-testing, and sometimes whatever nice thoughts you had in thought experiments and discussed with your colleagues, they didn't work out. And particularly the problem with behavioral public policy is interventions that backfire at a certain point in time later on. You would see nice effects, but 4 weeks later, 6 weeks later, a year later, you would see the opposite effect, and even more pronounced. This is something I have to admit can happen, and the same goes for herd behavior. Maybe you have something really nice and the crowd follows. This would be super great. There can be a lot of interventions where we want to have situations like this, but you don't know. It's like opening Pandora's box sometimes. Really cautious about opening herd behavior from a governmental perspective. Yeah, please.
Who decides what's a good behavior?
We do. All of us here. We have objectives, agendas. Our governments have issued these agendas, and our ministries work in line to achieve these agendas and objectives, and that's our roadmap. And we use these tools in order to just make it more effective. That's the whole story at the end. It's not about doing something morally good or bad. It's use the tools that are available to make it more efficient. That's the whole story.
Because it also can be used commercially. I mean, outside the
Yeah.
development of the solutions,
Yeah.
solutions, the exact same methodology
Yeah.
for the private sector to influence people.
I have to admit, they knew even far earlier than we did, that people, when it comes to marketing, how you place products in the supermarket, how we pick when it comes to expensive products, medium-priced products, and cheap products, what we pick and how we respond to the setup. Marketing specialists know this, and they make proper use of this in order to increase revenues, maximize revenues for their customers, so the company. The difference is, though, to me, I'm happy with supporting government, not so happy with revenue-increasing interventions for companies. And actually, I had a nice conversation last week on Thursday with our counterpart here in Saudi Arabia, and we agreed, both of us, simultaneously that no, we don't work for companies. Which I liked, that our counterpart met them the first time, actually the same reasoning that we have. No, I mean, for companies, we wouldn't go. For the government, it's a different story. That's something good, nudge for good, it's called. But for companies, it's just to fill the pockets of more insurance companies, and, I don't know, automotive, or just a retailer, I don't know. Yeah.
So it's at the macro level, the study, basically.
Yeah, it is.
This is what it's Taylor called, the sledge.
Yeah.
So he said, like, yes, there is nudging and there is sludging.
Yeah, there's.
Where you're driving people to the wrong direction, where you're using this, making behavioral change, making choices easier for the bad decision. And there is a lot of uses for it in private sector and the government sector as well.
Plus, on top, there are boosts nowadays. I mean, if we want to enter a bit this discussion, and obviously you're very interested, I see. Boosts would tell us, no, I mean, don't treat people like they're not so smart children. educate them. They can understand. So give them the competence to make proper decisions themselves. The main criticism towards all these interventions is you don't tell people properly. You use these kind of psychological triggers to make them behave the way you want to, but they are not aware of that. They are blind, and it's like paternalistic nudging behavior. Yeah, we treat them as young children, and I understand that point. It's well-founded criticism. We have, I guess everybody has to decide for him or herself whether it's nudging makes sense or crosses an ethical line, or whether we should better go and use this knowledge to inform people about their empathy towards others, that they want to shy away sometimes if they have an exit option, that they have a moral balance. I think it would be nice, but I think it needs a lot of training. And then it's again the question, what is more cost effective, I think. But I'm an economist, so by definition, by default, I don't have morals. I'm happy that you're laughing. Yeah.
Can we start asking questions?
Yeah, we can shoot anytime, of course. Yeah.
So I noticed that awareness has a direct benefit. And I noticed from the examples you have given, there is about 20 to 30% improvement
sometimes
when awareness is raised somehow in a certain direction, whether positive or negative.
Yeah.
Is this measurable? I mean, are you able to establish, an average for all cases, or a bracket, that you can use that say associate awareness with benefits of improved results?
That's what we try to do all the time, of course, because we know it sells. It sells very, very well if we have hard data available that comes up saying, for example, whenever we activate, let me put away the box. Whenever we activate social norms, this goes in line with a 15% increase in the direction we wanted. But it's not like this, I have to admit. All these things are very specifically tailored to the situations at hand. So we know social or peer group reference will have a strong impact, but it could range from 5% to 52%. It depends on this specific situation at hand. So I wouldn't be able to say it's always 25, 30%. When we started these little experiments, which is called the dictator game, person A makes a choice how to distribute the pie. There we would say on average across cultures, different stake sizes, gender, you name it, we find on average 25% are given to the other person. But still, you have seen it. We are able to play with the parameters. We can boost it to 50, we can reduce it to 11% or something. So it's up to us. Any more questions, I think? Yeah, please. Just take them, is it okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Can I ask? Thank you. Now, we've seen very nice charts and very interesting statistics and how to improve the results doing this one way or the other. But can you really apply this to crucial decision making? Let's say, for example, the head of the central bank wants to decide whether to keep interest rate or to increase it or to decrease it. I'm sure he cannot work on these numbers, can he?
It's a bit mean from your side. It's a wonderful question, and you're delving into a topic which is really not my area of expertise.
No, I mean, when it comes to crucial economic decisions,
so what I
can you apply these techniques, or it's just for something nice, where to collect the garbage and where, how to persuade people?
More people do it. But okay, so European Central Bank, I know, they have behavioral economists employed because there are behavioral biases, cognitive biases, how people perceive nominal inflation rates and nominal interest rates and relative interest rates. And of course, they don't consider inflation rates as a proper adjustment, or they don't adjust properly as far as I understand. It's a bit ago that I was dealing with the topic. And they think a lot about how consumption could be smoothed properly, because consumption is something that consumers do, so households do, people do. And I can, at the moment, can just tell you there are a lot of people, behavioral economists working for the European Central Bank. The colleagues at my university have a separate unit for behavioral macroeconomics, exactly looking into these topics. They run very complicated experiments, over 50 rounds, lasting for 2 hours, with people sweating inside the computer rooms. But somehow they gain knowledge that it seems to be relevant. But that's actually all I can tell you for now. But I can give you all the links to their publications, and they form actually a small group of people that work with central banks, for example. And I think it's also coming here to the region. In Lebanon, I think they also have people working on behavioral macroeconomics, so when it comes to setting interest rates and stuff. Does it help?
Can I ask just one more question and then I leave it? Are people more persuaded by adhering to morals or by threatening them with penalties? to say the truth or to adhere to a certain behavior?
I mean, sticks are always... I mean, you can always do...
Which one is more effective? That's what I mean.
I think, of course, hardcore regulation, prohibition versus allowing something is, of course, the ultimate goal of every government. The thing is, it is becoming quite costly if you want to prohibit people from, I don't know, smoking. This is extreme. You will get responses that you don't like. You cannot detect every single individual, whether he or she is smoking or not. And most likely you will get a lot of negative responses from the society, from the population. But it's nice if we can make people voluntarily change their behavior. This is much nicer. But of course, if you really want to prevent people from doing something, you could always come with regulation. But all these topics are not related. We don't restrict the choice set of an individual, of a citizen. We leave it as is. We just make certain choices more attractive to them. We don't want to... I mean, regulation is also a fascinating topic. We can have a separate session or a separate talk. But all behavioral economics essentially is just... Empowering people, ideally empowering people to make the right choices, the better choices. But not changing the choice set as such. There was another question.
Can we postpone the questions until the end?
Yeah. Okay, 8:30 sharp. Okay, all right. Yeah, it's fine for me. I think we are good in terms of timing. I think. Let's see. Let's skip the test here. I think this is a problem that all of you, I'm not so sure after you're all honest, maybe you don't have this problem. This problem is procrastination. At least something that I came across a couple of times in my life. Postponing things. Those things I don't like, I postpone them to tomorrow. And this is probably something you cannot read, but I like this sentence so much, that's why I highlighted it. It's saying, if you have to do something that you don't like, and you're sitting at home at your couch, what I would start doing is opening the fridge to see if there's anything new in there since 10 minutes ago. This is something where I observe myself, I do this, I have this kind of behavior. And this can result in certain problems, this kind of procrastination, delaying stuff that we should do now, but actually postpone to later. There's theory telling us it's related to our evolutionary legacy, that in the past, whenever we saw an opportunity, like the fridge, we should take the opportunity, eat what's inside, and move on. We would never know when the next opportunity for food, rest, and such would arise next time. But today, the world is different and creates some problems. We don't want to eat all the time, or we don't want to lay on the couch all the time. Sometimes we have to work. And people acknowledge this normally and say, yes, I suffer from these things. And there are also some funny statistics that I really like. So Germans, we're talking about Germans. Germans are delaying their tax declarations. It's really boring and annoying to declare taxes properly. It takes a couple of days, and you would always sit at night or at the weekend and go and do the number crunching, so you delay things. But you delay too long. So Germans pay in 2013 at least, 380 million euros in fines for their late declarations, which is wasted money. There's no need to be late in your tax declaration. Or if you think you have problems, go to a tax advisor. They will do it properly on time. But somehow they mess it up. Going to the fridge instead, probably. There's statistics, but I don't have a proper source, saying 3 hours, employees waste 3 hours every day by getting distracted. I don't show you how my archiving looks on the computer, but it's not optimal. Yeah, so just searching takes already 10 minutes every day. Suspended preventive medical examinations, killer number 1 worldwide. There's something true in it. And the general well-being issue we already had. So the question is, how can we find mechanisms to stick better to what we actually want? Because there's a disconnect. We want something in the long run, but don't achieve it in the short run. We are always distracted with this present bias. There's an experiment that I will quickly talk about. University students were assigned little jobs. They should proofread papers, and these papers were very boring. And each of them, 10 pages long, contained 100 grammatical or spelling errors. 3 papers, 10 pages each. One group got all the 3 papers at once and was told, after 3 weeks, you need to submit the proofread papers, all 3. You can submit earlier, that's fine, but if you submit late submissions, you will get penalized. 1 per paper, I think. The other group got equal deadlines across the time, or across the 3 periods. So after 1 week, paper 1 was ready. After the second week, paper 2 was ready. And after the third week, paper 3. So slicing the workload into 3 pieces, equal pieces. What do you think? What happened? I need first to start here. So in this end of deadline where everything can be submitted at the end, which shouldn't make a difference, of course, treatment, 70 errors were detected out of 300, maximum. People had an average income per hour of $4.5. And here's my little theory of what happened when they were about to review and proofread these papers. This was their brain. Maybe it's only my brain. I love these comics. Thinking about proofreading the first paper in the afternoon. At the moment, I'm somewhere, normal place. I'm a rational decision maker. I control myself and my behavior. I do things that make sense. I think long term. I'm not a child. No, I'm not. So a few hours later, I'm sitting at home. I had the plan to review and proofread the paper, paper number 1. Well, what happens once I sit on the couch, there's this little guy coming in. He's called here instant gratification monkey, and he's telling me, well, Manuel, let's watch a bunch of YouTube videos on creatures of the deep sea, and then go on YouTube spiral that takes us through Richard Feynman, I think, a physician, Nobel laureate or something, talking about string theory, and ends with us watching interviews with Justin Bieber's mom. Yeah, I don't know if you have these problems, but sometimes I would find myself watching weird things on the internet, although I wanted to do something completely else. And this is more or less this reasoning that happens in my mind. And it's a problem if you need to work, and this instant gratification monkey is jumping and whispering into your ears, you delay stuff. If we cut it into 3 equal pieces, slice it down, and put some commitment people need to submit by the end of week 1, need to submit by the end of week 2, and so forth, we see performance indicators, go up, wonderful. They find more errors, they submit, or they have less delays in their submissions, and they get more money. Great. And it's not because they were better in overcoming their procrastination, it's only because the workload got smaller, because usually you push back, but then there's paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, 1 day before the deadline, oh my God, I have to finish 3 papers, so performance goes on. If you just have 1 paper, performance is potentially a bit better. And that's what we see here. Commitment works. And not only when it comes to reviewing papers, also when you want to, for example, quit smoking, which would be my topic. There's a lovely page out there, online, stick.com. Manuel needs to deposit $1,200 on that page and promises to or here this example is with weight reduction, going on a diet, promises to lose 5 kilos by the end of 2019. There's a weighing in next week at the doctor's office and a weighing in at the 31st of December 2019. I put 1,200 in their account. If I manage to lose 5 kilos by that time, that's great. Then I get my 1,200 back. And if not, if I don't manage to achieve my goal, then it will go to a charity. My good money will go to a charity. I lose it. That's quite a strong financial punishment if I don't act properly and try to achieve my goals. But of course, or let's first look at the success rates. It works. If you set these kind of financial costs for underachieving or underperforming, people stick to their goals. These are the success rates for those who go on diets without these kind of commitments compared to those with commitment under STICOM, and 50% of the people in normal diets drop out during their diet. Here, 30% drop out, which makes a difference. But not everybody can afford putting 1,200, particularly not me, so there's a nice example from the Spanish city of Naron just last year. And I think they don't have behavioral economists on board, but it's so smart. I love it a lot. People go on a group diet. 4,000 people jointly strive to lose 100,000 kilos by the end of 2020. You don't need all the time financial incentives. Sometimes it's nice to have the group. You want to stick to the group. Remember social norms? Deviation is penalized by social, pressure or dislikes. You want to comply with this norm of we diet. This is a nice example of how smart behavioral economic engineering could look like without involving any financial incentives where you need to bet on your self-control and self-discipline. 14 minutes left. Questions on procrastination? Good. Trust. Do you want to play another game? An interactive game? Yeah, I think for one game we have time. Okay, let's play this game. Two people. Yeah, I think you can slowly get your mobiles ready. Two people again. It's more or less the same setup. Person A, person B. You will be newly matched to someone in that room. Person A gets, as an endowment, again 100 real. Person B, again 0. But now the rest looks differently. Person A can decide whether to trust person B or not to trust person B. If person A says, I trust, by clicking on the respective button in the mobile application, then it's person B's turn. Person B, and simultaneously, class X will triple the 100 real, making it 300. So you trust person B and send the 100 real that you have as an endowment, I think that's the proper English, to person B. It becomes 300 and then it's person B's turn. Person B can decide either splitting 50-50, 150 for person B and 150 for person A, or keeping everything for himself. 300 for person B, 0 for person A. This is not don't reward trust. The other one is reward trust. So A says, I trust you, send the 100 real. B's turn, B says, okay, I reward it, then it's 150, 150. Or I don't reward it, it's mine, 300 for me, 0 for you, dear person A. Of course, person A can also say, I don't trust, then we won't play an experiment with person, or person A won't play an experiment with person B, keep the 100 and that's it, person B doesn't get anything. These are the rules of the game.
Ready.
Questions? It's a bit more complicated, but I hope this decision tree will help a bit too. Okay. Yeah? Yeah? So dia, capital S, and the rest small.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, this I'll leave here. Okay. I think, yeah, people are coming in. you would be assigned person A, person B. Person A is first to decide, person B has to wait. I apologize, by the way, for sometimes the English is a bit impolite. Still needs improvement, I know. It's by default on the system. So, dear A's, is it working so far? Dear A's? You are B, then waiting probably? Or you could also try to refresh it, shouldn't be a problem. Okay, I see. So, all A's, so far so good. You decided whether to trust or not to trust? Yeah, okay. Then let's hand over to person B. Now person B's turn. You would be informed, I hope, whether person A trusted you, i.e. send you the money, which will be tripled, and then it's your turn to decide. Or maybe person A didn't trust you, then you won't have a choice to make.
Actually, he didn't.
Yeah?
He didn't trust me.
Oh, can happen. Yeah, we'll see then. We should see in a second the remaining person B's who have a choice. Maybe someone still on the way, or are you done? Done, more or less done. Okay. So, let's have a look. 9 minutes left. 9 minutes, almost half week. So, I trust and send my entire endowment of 100 real. 1/4 of person A's did this. And the 3/4 said, "Oh no, halas, I keep it. I don't trust the other person with this kind of setup. 150, 150, or 300 0. No. Then I don't trust. Better to keep what I have. Well, it's definitely something. And but okay, those who actually received the choice as person B said, "Okay, I'll behave trustworthy. I'll share it equally." Okay, and. Now coming back to economic... I need to do this because... Sorry. Here we go. Economic theory would tell us, well, if you are depending on someone's goodwill, then, I mean, there's nothing like trust. If this someone can take 300, you don't trust. Of course not. There's nothing. Nothing to debate. But people behave very similar to your decisions. On average, we see that 50% of the people trust. Okay, we had 1/4, but not too far away. People tend to trust. And on average, we see that trust pays off slightly with in other experiments. Typically, you get 2 to 5% back. Here we had 100% return, I think, all the time. You 50% return all the time you invested something. You send 100, get 150 back. In every case it was like this. So much higher premium, but of course trusting is risky. And we also see this in the data. There's usually wide dispersion. So sometimes you would send everything and get nothing back, and sometimes you would send little and get, surprisingly, also a lot back, which is somehow counterintuitive. And so these are the aggregate numbers, but keep in mind by wide dispersion, so it's not so close to the means as we have it with the first experiment, for example. Trust is important. Why? Because we have problems in businesses, for example, in the economic sector. When you think about transactions between businesses, a principal and an agent company, or a client and a customer and a client, not every contract can be fully specified. There's always leeway, particularly for those guys who get the contract, to maneuver around and harm you if they want to. And this kind of problem, I mean, it's not only a problem for your business, it's a problem for the entire economy, because every contract is like this and has loopholes. Rationality would tell us never enter a contract which is not fully specified, so all these things that cannot be fully specified, you would not see transactions. Trust Trust helps us to overcome this problem. And we can see on a large scale that trust is extremely important for the economy. This is a plotter between trust and per capita GDP growth. The lower the trust level, the lower the per capita GDP growth. The higher the trust between people, the higher GDP growth. There is a causal relationship between trust, interpersonal, interorganizational trust, and economic prosperity, or innovation, or mutual wins, whatever it is. But you need to be willing to take the risk, and the other side need to be trustworthy, then it will grow. 5 minutes left. Trust in government, maybe the last topic. I mean, who cares about the economy? We want our citizens to trust us at the very end, us governments. So, citizens in Boston government has tested something very small, but I hope you will like it. Different presentations of citizen services in the mobile application. So they had a mobile application, and this was used by citizens to, whenever they saw something that should be fixed, like a pothole, damaged signs, graffiti, litter, anything that is on the street, they would take a picture, use the app, and it would go to the government. Government would hopefully fix it. By default, you would see something like, as a citizen, you submit something, and then a day or a few days later, it would tell you closed. Okay, fixed. And they thought maybe we can do something better to give people better feedback, because we want them actually to be our crowd out there, to inform us on a daily basis. They're out there, use their knowledge and their mobile phones to inform us permanently on what's going on out there, where we need to fix something. Why to send a patrol out there, the roadside assistance team? No need if we have the crowd. So they thought maybe it's wise if we ask our teams to take a picture of the completed work and also submit it to this app, so that the guy would see the before and after. Still closed, before and after, nice, it's fixed. And guess what? This is the requests of users who started to use the app in the control treatment without feedback, compared to a situation where they get the transparency. This is what we have done after you have submitted us the service request. It's 60% more service requests are sent through the app, which is great, and it's related, it's even better. This is related to government is more positively seen. It's not wasting our public money. It's actually efficiently and wisely spending our public money, and people start trusting the government more and become more supportive. When you look, they could look at also at election data actually, and they would find these people are 12% more supportive of the current government in office than those people, which is a great effect. This is a small intervention. People are happier. They help you, of course, to get streets ready and clean and tidied up. Plus, they like you more. Wonderful. Okay, 3 minutes, then I'll drop fairness, because there's anyhow no public intervention. We are still working on that. That's work in progress, how to set up a fair taxation system. I cannot deliver a case. But what I can tell you is, or what I can give you is a brief wrap-up in the last 2 minutes. What we have seen, I hate this layout, but we have seen that people are not that selfish. They care for others. They care, of course, also for their self-image, but we know, I mean, it's just a bit, and we can actually also alter it and use it to our advantage as governments if we want that. The more they know, the more they care. Good to keep that in mind. People are somewhat honest, somewhat. So we have little transgressions, we cheat a bit, but we don't go all the way up. And we can activate our moral ego by little moral reminders, for example, that bring us down to very honest levels if we want to use it that way. People follow social norms. Knowing that all cheat gives us credibility, or gives us the admittance, or admits us also to cheat. Knowing that nobody cheats tells us we have to comply with the social norm. We shouldn't cheat. These kind of things we discussed. So we can use it to encourage people to behave socially better, whatever socially better is. People procrastinate. Remember the instant gratification monkey and slicing big workloads in a committed manner into pieces can improve our performances. We can also bet money on our self-discipline or do stuff in groups. Also nice. People trust each other most of the times, sometimes to a quarter, but we have seen the more they trust, the better it is for businesses and economies. And of course, we have also seen how governments can make use of, or can stimulate trust of their citizens toward their own services and how they spend public money. The unfairness stuff we have skipped. The last takeaway is this was just a brief outlook, although it took 1.5 hours. You can't see it right now. This is just an overview of 166 cognitive biases that are related to individual behavior. I don't know all of them, and they are very not relevant in, I mean, they are relevant in very specific cases, and very specific phenomena are related to them. And there's no one-size-fits-all. It depends, as we discussed before, very much on the situation when things kick in. Group behavior, we didn't discuss at all. And applications, I think, are limitless or unlimited, as long as you think about citizens as a whole and how to guide them going left, going right, to make better decisions. Yeah, I think we also had a couple of cases, but of course there are much more out there. And as I said, I have to admit not all of them were successful. So you have seen a brief section of things that were more or less very successful in order to make it a whole package, of course. Okay, I think it's on my clock, it's 8:31. Now it's 8:31.
Thank you, Dr.
You can read, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manuel, for this worthwhile lecture. We really enjoyed it, and the application for behavioral economics certainly are limitless.
I hope so.
And I would love to continue this conversation and host you again here in Saudi Arabia. And now Dr. Fahad wants to present you with a commemorative present.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Fahad. You can stand up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sure. Just take a picture.
Maybe. Yeah.
This side. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very much. Thank you.
Fantastic. Oh, wow. That's very nice. Land, people, and yeah, I'll open it later on. And civilization. Yeah. Yeah, also from my side. Thank you very much. I love the interventions and the discussions. Here are a couple of books if you want to go into further reading, and of course, my email address, and of course, I would be more than happy to discuss with you and follow up separately whenever you, on whatever topic you are interested in, and whenever you like. I'll still be around for another week, I think, roughly. Thank you very much. Shukran jazilan.